please introduce Stuart Hameroff, professor at the University of Arizona, active in the Center for Consciousness Studies. So Stuart, you are on the cutting edge of quantum physics and consciousness, and the intersection of those two.
Yes, Greg, I think quantum physics is the key to consciousness. You know, going back to the Greeks, there's been this controversy between whether the brain produces consciousness or some part of consciousness is out in the universe that we access. And quantum physics allows us to sort of bridge that gap and actually favors being able to access parts of consciousness or the essential features of consciousness which are present in the universe by working through the brain.
Are you saying that we are accessing something that pre-exists and we're basically just a conduit for it then, or do we have a say?
Well, it's not quite that simple. There are basically two approaches to the so-called hard problem of consciousness, namely the hard problem being why we have experience, why we have flavors, tastes, emotions, feelings, how we're different from robots or zombies, why we have an inner life. And the two approaches are basically emergence and some kind of fundamental approach. Emergence is the idea that conscious experience emerges at sort of a high level of complexity. The brain, like many other systems, being sort of a hierarchy, and if you get complex enough up that hierarchy, voila, some new property emerges, like a storm, for example, a hurricane or a tornado is a pattern that emerges from simple elements, gas molecules, air molecules, working together to make a funnel cloud, for example, or the great red spot of Jupiter, or a candle flame is an emergent property, or the property of wetness from water is an emergent property. So many people think that consciousness emerges as a new novel property at a high level of complexity in this hierarchical system that we call the brain. The problem with that, I think, is that none of these other emergent phenomena are conscious. They don't have conscious experience. Moreover, there's no real prediction at what level of complexity consciousness might occur in the brain. And if that were the case, computers should be conscious already or should soon be. So for that reason, plus the fact that that would take away any possibility of free will, it also wouldn't give us this property of binding, how we bind everything together into one sense of self or unity of consciousness, and how we transition from the preconscious or subconscious to consciousness itself. These problems, I think, suggest that there's something more to consciousness than being an emergent property of computation. The brain is more than a simple classical computer.